Oh, we are live, we are live, we are live. Okay, my people. We haven't heard each other now for quite a while. And somebody asked me if I've given up. I lost that much hope in our country, in our region, at all. Well, it was a question, and that's all it was. Because, as many know, I am not planning to be silent anytime soon, and for no prolonged period of time. Um, I've taken a step back, I did, because, everyone likes to know that whatever they're doing, it has value, it has worth. And not only is it substantive, because you can have things that are substantive, meaning that it's a quality product. And then because of a system sometimes called labeling or what have you, then that work could sit there for a while. And that is one of the things that we know about the Caribbean so very well. And that is there's a vindictiveness that hangs out there. And it's avoidable because as long as you know which way is up for you, as long as you know where you stand on the side of principle and honesty and character and all that, then chances of circumventing issues or situations like those are very, very, very good. Um, but then there are those, and you really start to look and you really start to ask. As you know, we just come through a general election, and the Prime Minister has once again taken win number 3. I think when level heads, visionaries sit down, we are going to see an analysis and an engine room that is reconstituted and a game plan that says something. It reinstitutes the reasons why or purpose why the Democratic Labour Party was formed. Secondly, it energizes so that those who are part of and those who would be in the days to come will find a very definitive path on which to trod. And this will also lead to a reopening of the eyes of our very loyal followers that are out there sitting down all over this country. Still mad, still angry, still annoyed, more so disappointed that they still have not been taken notice of. We are still too prepared to keep claiming that we are listening and doing what the people of Barbados say, even though we are misrepresenting even that assertion. In recent months, we've buried what, 8, 9, 10 stalwarts, and these are the stalwarts of the party. In other words, people who went to bat for this party, people who walk the streets, and they need to have a candidate with them for them to get out there and work on behalf of this party. And you know, the saddest part about these situations is when we choose to forget who we are, what we do. See, because a political party is a political party. A political party is that thing, that engine that tells a people that we believe we have the answers to your desires and everything else, and we would like the opportunity of presenting them. That's a political party. It entails power, authority, everything. And therefore, it has a responsibility of bringing that to the people in as many forms as possible. The reason it is a party and not a pressure group is because it operates as a band. And because it operates as a band, deportment finds a place. It does not necessarily deal with the question of what for, but it deals with what if. When there's an assembly and that assembly does not have the unification of, say, a physical apparel, it questions the seriousness of that group. When there's a thought, a conceptualization that any other color is preferable to the standard colors of this party, there's a serious misdirection. And what is missing more fundamentally is the vision that saw the advent of this party. And what else to tell you that it is lost when those things, paraphernalia and everything else, when they are missing. Because when they're missing, the conception is that some other thing would work just as well, if not better, and therefore you don't need it. So that is how loudly that one act speaks. In recent months, pundits have been talking non-stop. They had no reason to be analytical, investigative, or anything, because the trait that was out there, all they had to do is to throw in their 2 pennies and everybody's swimming in the deep blue sea without making one point that would bring some sanity to the current situation that is being experienced in our country as we speak. In the coming months, I intend to pursue discussion having to do with what is required to satisfy the needs of the people of Barbados as they continue to thirst for some semblance of purpose, of vision, of why our party came. Today, it is more like why it has chosen not to do so. It does not take a lot of creative imagination to notice that much of what is being bandied about very seldom share any real meat, any real bridge, any real foundation. And therefore, it operates like a pimp. You know, he shows up, put the woman to work, beat she, get back, get his money, gone until the next day. This is how sordid the thing is. Don't ask me about my example. If you see how sordid it is, then you get my point. And so it appears that there is much that is being ignored, largely because there's this deception, and it is costing. And it is now in the final throes of some level of extinction that must be stopped. In no organization that will forge ahead out of whatever situation, it will not forge ahead in any or at any level of uniformity and unity of vision and purpose and effort unless there is a fundamental acceptance of who we are, why we are, and what we do. Move those and you got a group. And perhaps this is why the elder statesmen of the party are so necessary, because they are the ones that form the foundation, the bridge over which others cross. And when those bridges are removed, very seldom are we asking, what are these people to do? They're coming and they're formulating their own understanding of what it is. All because we've sat back, we've allowed this argument to go forward by people who claim political maturity or at least political experience. And now the party is being labeled as one that got more old people than young people. And on and on and on it's going. And this is all trite to me because a political party, a politician does not get bad with time. A politician gets better with time. And if ceteris paribus, which means all things being equal, that person is healthy, mentally and physically, and able to execute on behalf of the people, then there's absolutely no reason why aid should ever be put on the table in an effort to put that person away from the opportunity to serve. And when we have these so-called, the cadres, the padres, the madres, the all kinds of dre's that are allowed to carry this argument as one-sided as it is, because it is never applied to the Barbados Labour Party government. And they have some seriously old people in there, astute as ever, but sufficient evidence that that concept in our political life should disappear immediately. But how can it? When those persons it is directed at sit back and more or less say, okay, fine, hands up, I surrender. How do you deal with that? If anybody gets active enough to do a little research, go into Google and say, Google, give me the ages, the range from whatever, of the top 75 countries in the world. What are the ages of the leadership at home and abroad? And if you do that, you will find that you are averaging 72 to 80 years old. And only in a few places, it is around 58. I take it that this has never been thought about. It has never been researched. Because in the light of the information that is there, how do you allow a group of people, political observers, political pips, political anything other than legitimate, to get out there and vilify a party for its statesmen, which exists in all the parties, but one party sits back and allow itself to be licked up by it? I remember some time ago I spoke about it and somebody corrected me and told me, Mr. Tobias, that does not go on in our party. They told me that at an annual general conference. Little did they know that my information had no less than 28 references to it. So here we are, ultimately hoping to reach out to the people of Barbados, hoping to say to them that here we are, ready, willing, able, mentally acute, and ready to take you forward, your dreams, your goals, your everything, and put Barbados back in a place where civility is normal, where comfort, where joy, peace, security is a byword. Of course, all of this here implies so much infrastructure, like to say training and this and that and all this. It implies an effort to pull things together after self-reflection and examination, after the mirror job. None of it seemed to be popular because we are still too busy trying to behave like we won the election and the Barbados Labour Party lost. It is normal when there's a victory for there to be some serious analysis, a walking back of steps and seeing where we miss, where we overlook. I am not aware that this is a priority because with the fragmentation that is currently ongoing, there are those who think that they have already arrived And so you have a kind of satellite behavior. And all of these things have to be addressed before the public of Barbados will ever trust the Democratic Labour Party again. And I can just hear the demonization beginning. Why should he this and why should he that? Why should I what? Offer to Barbadians as a citizen the things and the thoughts that I think should be moving through, and they should have a chance to ruminate on, and everything else to really fully understand what is going on with their lives. Those of us who are serious about people representation must understand what is needful at this time. Once again, today we said goodbye to another comrade, another one. And if you recall, quite a few of our membership, senior, those that were really and deeply aligned with us. And even that has to be examined. And I couldn't help but ask, where was the colors? Where were the unification dress or outfit or wear? Where was it? Where was that symbol that said that Brother Thorne belonged? A man who worked tirelessly for many. I was not one of the recipients, and indeed, the last day I had from him around the 13th, 14th of February was an apology, because we did discuss quite a few things. But then all these different things start coming, and he trying to do as much as he could. But I knew where his heart was. And I also knew that if we were who we are and should have been, some of us should not have lost, because he should be allowed to go ahead and do what he has to do, because there were so many others following. I remember in 2008, I can't remember how many dozen times that James Paul tried to join us. And we told him, go back and do some paperwork. We got this. We got this street. We got this house. We got this house. We got this. We got that. Because that is what support is all about. That is what commitment is all about. And I'll say this to you, that when the time came where there were some difficult situations, our candidate still won out, because our candidate was the candidate of the party. And therefore, whatever personal ideas we had to go by the wayside, because the party was paramount. So when we have a party where you got 8 or 10 people in it that would do anything at all for a constituency except support somebody that they don't like or they don't feel should be there. That's not party loyalty, that's not commitment, and that's certainly not what you want. And these are big issues that will not go away because these are issues that flow from your commitment to this party. You're seeing eye to eye. You're walking in agreement with what this party stands for. And therefore, whoever they have chosen to carry that standard, then you have almost no choice but to get in there and do everything you would do to make sure that the party wins out. And when that is not happening, you're dead structurally, fundamentally. And these are some of the things that if any of us going to be seriously involved in, we're going to have to come to terms with these things. We're going to have to come to terms with the realities of these last two elections. I almost say three. Could say three. 22, 5, and 6. So yes, it concerned me today that those colors were not on display. That Barbados didn't get a chance to see how we support each other, especially in times like these. I watch because you're not going to be a good commentator. You're not going to be a good analyst. You're not going to be good at anything if all you got is one side of a story. I watched a couple funerals from those of the other side. And one included a very good friend of mine. By the way, have you noticed that the president of Barbados is becoming a regular attendee at funerals? Don't be surprised. He come out to the Chapman Lanes and all that environments over there. He's well known, and I'm not dealing with being no MP. And yes, so of course he's going to come out and show some support for those persons who have been there. And it was good, and it is good to see it. My friend, she buried a couple weeks ago, Debbie, and she's from out in Wellington Street area. And I know a long time we're back to when you had Lens over there at the corner, the Gap, and all kinds of different activity. And it was so good to hear some of those paying tribute say things like, hey, she tell them, get out, get out. No, I got this. I got this. I know who's there. I know who everybody is here. Do you know how much solidarity that is? Do you know what that commitment feels like? Do you know what that day does to a candidate? As opposed to that candidate believing that he got more fight from within his party than those that are outside. See, these are issues that got to be addressed. That's why leadership is going to be the number one demand. And it can't be a leadership because that person is drawing popularity out of some resurrection. It has to be leadership based on vision. It has to know what this party is all about, what it came from, what it came out and pledged to do. And it has to be able to find solidarity with those purposes. And if that is not reached, we have an event that hopefully for most of us would be a disappointment or intolerable. You see, when these things are not dealt with, and it was a wonderful service. His brother, of course, eulogized him in the most brilliant of ways, as he's always done. The guy is a giant. And he made references to so many things that we remember. He didn't call Addy name who used to got the Mobby, but he talked about the hot. He talked about things like 5 cents and stale sweet. It was stale sweet and stale salt by Johnson. And he brought us back and brought us forward. And in the end, he was able to show what quality of life is all about, what standard of living is all about. What giving of yourself is all about. As it connects with the heart and soul of Barbadians. Because until we get that part right, there nothing else can come right. This is not a Zoom club. This is not some hard rock band, all that kind of stuff. No, this was always intended to be a group of people fiercely devoted to the well-being of Barbadians and willing to walk the length and breadth of the streets and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. When you don't have that fabric taken over, the bridge has broken. And for those who want to continue to think that it doesn't matter to Barbadians, have fun. For those of us who understand, I hope the effort will be to bring to life once more the purposes of this party. Because you see, once you get the purposes right, then what happens is, by way of the phalanges, everything else would be in place or will fall in place as a job to be done. In other words, you would know exactly all of these things got to happen if this is to go forward. Your membership has to be as juicy. Why? Because the membership has to be sold out to the principles of the party. Must be sold out. Ooh, it's bad. It's tamarind, fellas. Ooh. The membership has to see the people and hear the voice, even if they can't talk. The people's business must be the membership's job. And to get the people's business, you got to get the people in your ear. Even if you got to knock on their door. Because right now they are not leaving home to knock on yours. And this is a brilliant opportunity because just 2 months ago there was an election and now you got 5 more years. No action happening, not a whole lot going on. Everybody got back the time. When Mayor Motley called the election, she has 17, 18 people that can lose their pension and all this. And nobody bothered to deal with it and deal with the unconscionable behavior it was. But she was returned. So everybody's money is in place. That is not new. When the Prime Minister said in the Nation newspaper how bad that electoral list was, and the Electoral and Boundaries Commission came behind shortly after and said it was even worse than that. And then we learned that there was not a good meeting of the Electoral and Boundaries Commission for almost 2 years, even though it had a sitting vice chairman and it had some board members. Nobody did anything to call and to summon these people to the people's business. And because that was not done, Mike cry along with a couple others to take the matter to court and ask the judge to look at it, grant an injunction that this book called the Electoral and Boundaries List could be corrected or at least brought to a better level of reliability than what we had. By that time, everybody was in the throes of trying to win, and everybody saw that as an interruption of their victory. The wisdom of fools, you know. So yeah, how do you go anywhere without asking these questions, without looking at these things and the implications of them? How do you say that you're going with what Barbadians are saying, but you're missing all of these fundamentals? This is no time. This is no time to play the rock and roll game. This is time to do some serious analysis. This is time to look at things, look at what is on your table. And this is time to ask the hard questions and be prepared to receive the tough answers. Because you got to address the approach. You got to address the infrastructure. You're not willing to do that, just talking that puff all the time. We saw it in 1822 and now 26. Nobody was willing to talk. Nobody willing to discuss. Everybody want you to start about how good the day is. And in my years down here, every single person that I have ever found or met up with that talk about just positivity, I've met more failures in that ilk, than anybody else. The successes I've met, and I've met thousands of them. I was a motivation speaker for 11 years. 2 and 3 of them, they're a week. Sometimes 42 weeks out of the year. But there's nobody that ever crossed over the Rubicon without understanding what it is to take responsibility for what's happening. But we got this thing, you can't say nothing because, hey, you anti this and anti that, and you're demonized. These are mentalities that have to go. These things have no place. And so I say this. If we are serious about the people of Barbados and the work that need to be done on behalf of them, because it is clear, listen every day to them, Barbadians do not want the Barbados their party in government. Not only in 26, they didn't want them in 22 either. But no coin is a coin with one side. And then the alternative, those sitting in the wings, is doing just that. Sitting in the wings. The people will stay where they are. Let the rain fall, because at least they know they'll get wet anyhow. And I hope to have a couple of discussions in the days ahead because I want us to get certain things right. The time has come where we've got to clean up image and this self-destruction. And by the way, there ain't nobody that look at you and tell you that you're telling lies when you're telling lies. That is a demon. He or she is a friend that you should thank God had the guts and the nerve to say to you that this is not right. And if you can't handle that, you are well on your way to meeting a categorization that is already extended to the leadership of Barbados. Like I said, and I'm speaking for Tobias E.C. Warren. Tobias did not get a mandate from the party to say or not to say. He speaks as a citizen of Barbados. And according to me, the Prime Minister's bill that was passed a little while back, he, like anybody else, is subject to being prosecuted or whatever it is, should the occasion arise. So he's not going to get here and tell you, or any other you, that the Democratic Labour Party sent me with a message for you. He is going to speak as a citizen of Barbados with a measure of respect and responsibility for the Democratic Labour Party. But he's not going to be silent, where silence is a bastardization of the situation. If we believe that certain things interfere, then let there be a meeting, a discussion, and the paper that flows out of that, let that be the official voice. But it can only be official if it has allowed the other voices to be part of it. So, Brother Thorne, rest in peace. It was so warming to know. I've only known you for 13 years. But it was so warming to know and to hear many things. I knew firsthand how busy you were. Indeed, my banners are still in the barrels. Just got them from the port. But you've done a job, and you've done a good job. Now you go on to heaven. According to my Bible, that's where you're going. It's good to know you. And I hope that we can carry on from here, the day after your birthday, in a way that bring honor to your efforts, in a way that shows that we understand what it is to love each other and not allow the piranha in us to take hold. I'm glad to see it was a funeral well attended, and I wish that the blue and gold or blue 11 would have flown through there a lot more frequently than it was today. We have to address this at some point if we are going to be serious public servants. And you've heard me over and over again. I believe that if you're in some way incapacitated mentally, physically, or whatever else, you should sit down. But as long as you are as agile mentally as anybody else, you have no physical restriction and all that, you can function. then that is where you should be, with the consent of the people. So I want to say thanks to you. I want to say thanks, Barbados. I want to say that it is welcome and it feels good to be making and to be saying a few things to you. Hopefully, they will stimulate discussion, some thought, so that we can make the necessary changes that we need to see implemented. Have a good night, Barbados, wherever you are, Canada, England, the diaspora, wherever you are. Have a wonderful night. Well, actually, it's morning. So, hey, good Sunday morning to you. I'll be back, and you know when I am. Have a good morning. Bye bye.